Can you break down for us what is an AI agent? Because we've all experienced ChatGPT, but what makes an agent so special?
Well, for me, agents is really delivering on the promise of AI. Now we got into this chatbot era, but like agents, they really deliver the wall of automation.
You have this tremendous handwritten drawing demonstrating what are agents. So can you walk us through the steps?
Yeah, 4 simple steps. The first one is thinking. Second step, the planning. And then the third component is action. Fourth step is reflection.
Armand Ruiz is the VP of AI platform at IBM, and he has amassed over 200,000 LinkedIn followers in just 2 years for his takes on AI. So you've been in AI for 16 years. What have been the biggest open source releases over time?
LLMs. I think Mistral did massive things when they came into the market. They were also, I think, the first to provide a mixture of experts. There are hundreds of thousands of open source models.
So let's get to IBM. How is IBM going to make big waves in the AI space?
One of the things I'm very bullish is about providing customers flexibility to deploy AI anywhere and to tap into any AI engine they want.
It's about jumping in, using the tools. What's like a good roadmap if you had to give somebody, if they're going from 0 to 1 to ramp up on all these tools, like which tools should they try first and what order?
I think first,
really quickly, I think a crazy stat is that more than 50% of you listening are not subscribed. If you can subscribe on YouTube, follow on Apple or Spotify podcasts, my commitment to you is that we'll continue to make this content better and better. And now on to today's episode. Armand Ruiz is the VP of AI platform at IBM and has amassed over 200,000 followers on LinkedIn in less than 2 years for his takes on AI. In today's episode, we're going to break down everything you need to know about AI agents and open source AI. We also cover his path from intern to VP in less than 14 years and his takes on the future of the product management role. Armand, welcome to the podcast.
So happy to be here. Finally, we make it.
Yeah, I think we both were talking off air that we mutually have been reading each other's work on LinkedIn. Absolutely. So it's really exciting to chat. I think it has this cool effect, which I can see as a reader, which is I almost feel like I understand how you think.
Same here. I've been following your journey, your newsletter, listening to your podcast. So yeah, very impressive work.
Thank you. Likewise, daily LinkedIn posting for you for 2 years. And I think this thread you've been on probably for almost the last year, so a lot earlier than other people, is AI agents. Mm-hmm. So can you break down for us what is an AI agent? Because we've all experienced ChatGPT, but what makes an agent so special?
Well, for me, agents is really delivering on the promise of AI. So we've been through this journey where I've been working in AI for 14 years now. And at first it was just predictive analytics, doing predictions, giving just rough numbers for forecasting and things like that. Now we got into this chatbot era, but like agents, they really deliver the wall of automation that is gonna unlock everyone and people and businesses to generate way more output. So that's why I'm extremely bullish. I'm very excited about it. And I've been talking about agents from the very, very beginning, and there were already some early projects showing the potential, Baby AGI or Auto GPT. Those were amazing. And then, the whole world now is prioritizing agents.
Yeah, those are, I think, almost 2023 news.
Right.
It took 2 years for the world to really catch up.
Yeah, absolutely. So part of my job right now at IBM is to lead AI platforms. So really building building blocks for enterprises to build securely AI agents and embed them into different business functions. I just came yesterday night from meeting a CIO. I had met another CIO last week. So I'm meeting some of the biggest customers from the biggest brands. They all have AI as the number one priority in their agenda. And agents is one of the core components. So there are a lot of different factors on how they empower employees to experiment with the technology, but then at the same time, how they can take it into production in a very safe and secure way. And there are everything in between in different levels of risk and innovation appetite that they have.
So as someone who's educating people about AI agents, when I saw your handwritten drawing, I was just like, that is a piece of art. That is something that really helps people understand AI agents. So can you walk us through this? Like, what are the building blocks of an AI agent?
Yeah, so the first phase is thinking. If we've been in this world of LLMs, we've seen LLMs at first that were just spitting text, and now we see that step of like thinking. Thinking is number one step. That's where we hear about LLMs being very good at reasoning. So also we hear Jensen saying, hey, with agentic systems and new LLMs, we're going to use more tokens, more inference, because that reasoning step takes extra compute, but gives you like the kind of like chain of thought process that we used to do manually, and now is built into the LLM. And to go to step 2, which is planning. So you ask for a task, and the LLM is going to break down that task into subtasks, and for each of them, we'll go and execute, and in some cases we'll challenge the output from the previous step, but it's going to be able to create multiple subtasks and goals, and then it's going to go into act, which is step number 3. And act is maybe one of the most fascinating steps, because it's going to allow you to tap into execution of actions. So if you need to input something to a CRM, or send an email all the way to sending, not just to write the copy, or whatever action it can be in for example, in a system like Workday, can go and interact with information for a specific employee. There are so many different things that you can do in the act phase that is being opened up by protocols like MCP. And then reflection. That's step number 4. Reflection is really what is going to make agents really good, because maybe at first they're a little bit raw, but then with human input, they will iterate and become better and better and better over time. So that reflect step comes with like some technical implementations that you need to do that, but you will be able to tap into all the past history of interactions and learn from it and feed it back into the agent. So next time it executes, it does it better.
So there's so many different terms and frameworks out there that people have heard about AI agents. What are the frameworks they should understand, and how do they fit into these steps?
Yeah, frameworks, you mean development frameworks? Yeah, I think I would like to classify them into 2 categories. There is like the coding frameworks, and these coding frameworks are becoming simpler and simpler, but you need to know, in most of the cases, Python. But you have frameworks like LangGraph or CrewAI or Llama Index or AutoGen. Those are excellent frameworks, open source, widely popular, and with a lot of information, documentation, and courses online. You can go and try them out. But then you have, on the flip side, you have like low code, no code tools. One we have at IBM that is very popular is called LangFlow. I saw the new announcement from Lindy. There is N8, which is also getting very popular. Stack AI from a fellow Spaniard here in San Francisco as well, also taking off. Flowwise, there are a lot of tools that help you build these agents in a very simple way. Still, you need to understand the concepts, but it helps a lot with the development.
Okay, so if you're not a very technical person, you can use some of these no-code tools, Lindy, N8N, Make.com, Zapier, you name it. They're all becoming huge. Or if you're trying to develop a more robust internal system, you're going to work with developers to build on top of a CrewAI or a LangGraph. Is that right?
That's right. I think those programming frameworks give you needed control and flexibility that for very complex agentic implementations you still need. And those are evolving quickly, and I think also the exciting piece of that, those are open source projects. You can go to the GitHub. Something I do sometimes is I go to the repos. I see the PRs and the issues and the conversation in the repo itself and what people are asking, and anyone can contribute to those frameworks and make them even better. So there is a lot of fast innovation happening at that space because of the power of the community and the ecosystem.
You just mentioned building things, and that's when I've really figured out, what is RAG versus what is fine tuning versus what is the other elements of context engineering. But for someone who hasn't gone through that, what is RAG useful for?
So RAG is useful to give additional context to an LLM. So if we step back for a second, LLMs are trained with data at a point in time. And obviously for most use cases, you need to inject new updated data in order to get the output you're looking for. In order to do that, the most popular technique is called RAG. You can use fine-tuning, but fine-tuning is not really to inject new updated data that is changing all the time. Is fine-tuning. Actually, one of my most viral posts is a guide on when you should be doing fine-tuning versus RAG. But RAG is basically great in order to connect directly to a knowledge base, to a database, and is a space that is evolving extremely quickly. My first year after the release of ChatGPT, 90% of the use cases we were doing for enterprises were RAG use cases, because it's one of the most powerful methodologies. You can tap into all these structured data, but also unstructured data, and just feed it directly into an LLM. So I think it's a gold mine for most traditional companies that are sitting on a lot of valuable data.
Wow, 90%. So tell me a little bit more. How are enterprises using RAG systems? What are employees using RAG for? How does that help them build a better agent?
Yeah, think of RAG as one of the core components of an agentic system. You can use RAG just simply on a chatbot, but if you're taking it into an agentic application, RAG is basically the component that is gonna, let's say, just stepping back, we have think, we have planning, and most likely in the planning phase, you will have a step of fetching some data from somewhere.
Yep.
So that's a RAG pipeline right there, you know. So users and my customers are just looking at ways to tap into massive amounts of data instantly. We've been very big on enterprise search, but most of that enterprise search has always been at the metadata level, and this is taking it to a whole new level. This is allowing us to tap directly into the information on those documents and structured data. So you can go tap, give me like the top use cases for a specific, for my top 10% customers, and then you can export directly from whatever reports or documents you have and get that directly into, for example, a product manager, and then they can start making some assumptions on which features they should be developing, for example, to go and accelerate development in certain areas. So there is some say we're in the age of ideas. So with these new tools and new access to intelligence, tap to enterprise data. My area is really on the enterprise side. That's where we see an explosion of new use cases.
Mm-hmm. Are there particular technical frameworks or things people should know about when it comes to RAG, like different options to implement it?
Many different options and many different building blocks and ways you can do that. At the end of the day, we are building these pipelines that they do a lot of different things. So seems like all the hype is on the LLMs. But then you need good embeddings models. Embedding model are those that are going to convert text into tokens, and those need to be really good. And those need to be they can be good in different languages. They can be faster. They can be slower. It depends on your application. You need vector databases. You need ways to do like filtering, search, ranking. So all that, and we have folks killing it out there with like data engineering education, like Zach, for example, because a lot of the problems in AI are data engineering problems. They are connecting the LLMs to all these very complex data systems, and in order to do that at scale is very, very complex. And for that, you have a lot of different technologies. If you are more on the AI application layer, we have frameworks like LangChain that we did mention, and so on, Llama Index. And if you're more on the heavy data side, then you have things like Spark or Airflow or things like that.
Okay, so that's where all those terms fit in. And then there's this concept of vision RAG. What does that help you do?
Yeah, so as we mentioned, RAG extracts information adds context into the LLMs, right? And a lot of that information it's in unstructured documents. So very rich PDFs with very complex tables or charts with a lot of valuable information. So Vision RAG is taking the classic RAG that is more just based on text, and it's opening up to more multimodal scenarios, and is adding that component. There are some LLMs that are great for multimodality nowadays, but then also you have like open source projects. One from my colleagues from IBM called DocLink, which is available on GitHub. It's a free framework that you can go grab, and it's going to be really good at getting info from like Word documents, PDFs, PowerPoint, a set of different file formats, and extract all that information visually. And then you can feed it into a RAG pipeline. So that's what we call Vision RAG. That is also kind of like very popular and is opening up new use cases.
And I think Vision RAG is really important for charts, right? Because there's so much rich data that lives in charts.
Yeah. If you're in some industries, like for example in healthcare, that you need to read charts that come from very advanced equipment, or you're in finance and you have a lot of charts for like the markets, right? Or tables as well. Tables many times they're exported from a spreadsheet and put together in a nice report on a PDF. There is so much you need to do in order to understand what the chart is saying, what the table is saying, what are the conclusions. So that's why Vision RAG is becoming super critical, and there are a lot of different ways to build that. I think the right combination here is to, again, build the right pipeline with the right components like DocLink that I mentioned, and then have very good multimodal models that are able to also understand image as input for the prompt.
Today's episode is brought to you by the experimentation platform Kameleoon. 9 out of 10 companies that see themselves as industry leaders and expect to grow this year say experimentation is critical to their business. But most companies still fail at it. Why? Because most experiments require too much developer involvement. Kameleoon handles experimentation differently. It enables product and growth teams to create and test prototypes in minutes with prompt-based experimentation. You describe what you want, Kameleoon builds a variation of your web page, lets you target a cohort of users, choose KPIs, and runs the experiment for you. Prompt-based experimentation makes what used to take days of developer time turn into minutes. Try prompt-based experimentation on your own web apps. Visit kameleoon.com/prompt to join the waitlist. That's KAMELEOON.com/prompt. AI evals are one of the most important skills for PMs, and I know you know they matter. The question is, are you doing them right? Most teams are winging it with basic metrics and hoping for the best. Meanwhile, the teams that actually ship reliable AI, they've cracked the code on systematic evaluation. Today's episode is brought to you by the AI Evals for Engineers and PMs course by Hamal Hussain and Shreya Shankar. This live Maven course will teach you the battle-tested frameworks from Hamal and Shreya, who are the engineers behind GitHub Copilot's evaluation system and 25 plus production AI implementations. 4 weeks, live instruction. Next cohort starts July 21st. Start shipping AI that actually works. Enroll at maven.com with my code AG-product-growth for over $800 off. That's AG-PRODUCT-GROWTH. What do most teams get wrong implementing RAG systems?
I think at the end of the day, like a lot of the conversations that I have with customers are frustrations on accuracy. I think in the consumer space, a little bit of lack of accuracy is acceptable. You can keep iterating, and it's not like a big system is going to go down and affect millions of customers. But when we are talking about, for example, putting customer service chatbot that needs to connect to RAG, it needs to be very, very accurate. Like 70% accuracy is not acceptable. Or we have use cases where the human is not interacting with the system, is like machine to machine. So, and then you need to have like the right humans in the middle. So you need to build very trustworthy systems. And what many people are getting frustrated is about the accuracy of the RAG, because they are just applying some vanilla out-of-the-shelf templates and implementations. So you need to really build a strong practice to properly evaluate the outputs. And at the end of the day, it's really a data problem. So yeah, you need to build that practice to properly evaluate and understand what is an acceptable business accuracy for the use case, and then just keep iterating in the architecture, in the different configurations that you need to do in your pipeline in order to build that accurately. So that's one. I think they are also underestimating the power of RAG, because RAG is providing, like if Google was unbelievable to provide access to information for everyone, at the end of the day, they are providing like a set of links, and then you need to go and find the information. RAG is giving that superpower to every single company to build that at scale, to tap into all the company's information for every single employee, and there is so much that can be done in that space, but in order to do it right, it needs very heavy engineering at this point.
So if you're thinking about evals, that's usually an area that people talk about just in the context of the final output. But it sounds like you're saying evals are really important in the RAG system itself.
Yeah, and I mean the evals, the RAG space and the evals space keeps evolving super fast, and there are new techniques, new companies innovating in that space. I think evals in agentic workflows should be almost put at like every single step if you're really serious about developing something, a critical system, and then you need to evaluate at different points before you put something into production. At the end of the day, evals is basically adding that human expertise to validate the output of what the AI system is giving you.
Yep.
So if you have a system that has a lot of multiple steps and you are only checking the output at the end of the spectrum, I think you are missing. I think in like it's classic software development, you will have evaluation in different points. So it doesn't change that much in that front. It's just more about the methodology on how you do it.
Okay, and how do you do good evals for a RAG system?
This is an area where there are a lot of papers talking about good techniques, and then it's pretty cool that the frameworks and the open source community is coming with projects to help customers or users to do that. At IBM, we have something called the Eval Studio that basically allows either the developer or the business user to do like proper evaluation of the outputs. And there are different ways. There are ways that they mix synthetic data with like human check-ins, with like having a data set that has the ground truth. There are different tools. And we've been pushing one that is called Evaluation Studio, which is GUI based, because we also understand a lot of the use cases, the knowledge and the expertise is in the SMEs and the business users, and they know very well what is good and bad, and they need to be able to assess the outputs of an AI system. This needs also is not a one-off. That is just you do it once and then to the next agent. These systems need to continuously be checked and improved, and that's really the power.
Yeah, it's like any internal tool you're going to build. There's going to be ongoing maintenance.
Absolutely.
And with an AI agent, a lot of it is in the evals phase.
Yeah.
I think that's a really interesting insight that you want to equip your SMEs to be able to help you with those evals. You don't want to just be doing those in some engineering silo.
Yeah. That said, there needs to be some framework on how you do that. When we're talking to companies like my set of customers that are like hundreds of thousands of employees, you need to put some best practices and frameworks on how you do that at scale in a company. So I think that's a little bit the challenge in a lot of these companies. they see everyone has a lot of ideas, and it's how they can experiment in a safe way. And then also a customer told me recently they don't wanna spend like $20,000 in compute to get a benefit of like $100.
Yeah.
You know, so this false illusion of like I'm using AI, I'm being more productive, but what's happening underneath is like you're spending a lot on execution, either on the pipelines or on the AI compute. So there needs to be like frameworks. Some are talking about like AI hubs or an AI office that tracks all those projects. And you want to encourage innovation and use case creation, but then at the same time you need to have a way to assess those projects.
Yeah. So you've said most employees should be getting to the stage where they're managing 10 to 20 agents. How do you think through what agents you should be building?
It depends on the business practice. Let's take, for example, you are sitting in marketing. If you see all the things that I'm sure you want to do, you have bottlenecks in different areas, right? Maybe you have a bottleneck in terms of like you cannot iterate fast enough on the copy because you are relying on some third-party agency, and then the turnaround maybe is 1 week.
Yeah.
So using agents, maybe you can, what it takes a week and a set of maybe meetings, you can do it in 1 or 2 days, or even faster. Then maybe you have challenges as well creating advanced just creative material, videos, images, charts that are impactful. Again, you can use AI for that. Or you wanna experiment with A/B testing on the website. You can have AI to create different iterations of your website, of your copy. So at the end of the day, I think everyone, depending on their function, will have different specialized agents that can give either recommendations or full automation on execution of certain tasks, and then you will be able to generate more output.
Mm-hmm. So it's almost like managing a team under you, and you need to figure out what are the right stages of human in the loop or human approval so that it doesn't just go out and misrepresent our brand or something when marketing, but at the same time it is reducing the work we have to do it.
Yeah, there is this concept of orchestration that everyone has been talking a lot about this year, which is this need of orchestrating agents. And a lot of our job is going to be on the judgment of the output of some of those agents. Again, I think we're far from that reality. 3 to 5 years, not because of the state of technology. We're here in Silicon Valley, and we see these AI first, AI native companies that are built from day zero with this agentic mindset. But then when you talk to more traditional companies, there is a long journey in order to get there. Orchestration of agents and being able to quickly iterate on them and orchestrate them and check that the outputs that they are generating are good, because ultimately it's going to be the responsibility of the humans. That's a new skill we all need to go and get used and learn.
How do people get better at orchestration?
I think I don't have a very clear answer. A lot of companies, they are working on AI literacy, so learning. So I think getting hands-on with the technology is really important. If you use the early days on the internet, you were on a console, and then we moved into easier and easier interfaces, right? So I'm sure the technology, it's being already democratized, so it's going to be accessible for everyone. But then at the end of the day, it's good education content like the one you are creating, and good courses, and then targeted for specific functions is going to be very critical.
Mm. So if you're a product manager, what AI agents should you build first?
I think, well, first of all, product management, I think, is also one of those functions that is changing. I lead a team of product managers, and I think usually the standard ratio that I've seen in the industry, which we don't always follow, is like a product manager for 6 to 10 developers. So you tend to have like product managers that are really focused on one specific area of your product. So, for example, in my AI platform, I have a PM that is really focused on tuning techniques, another PM that is really focused on inference and serving models, and you have these PMs that are really focused on certain areas. I think with AI agents, we can get into a different ratio. Instead of 1 to 6 to 10, maybe we can get one every like 20 or 30 developers. Because and these PMs, they might be able to cover multiple areas all at once, because they will have they have agents that can do like competitive. You can have an agent that is doing competitive analysis. It's a crazy market. Like, I mean, the AI space is a crazy market. Every big vendor, small startup, YC, there is so much action. You cannot keep up, so you can have an agent that is doing research, another one that is building up reports for competitive. Those competitive analysis then need to be polished, and the salespeople need to be equipped in order to have a good conversation in front of a customer, defending your product versus the competition. Then you have a lot of, you need to prioritize all the user feedback. So with very powerful AI agents, you can have agents that can check your usage data from SaaS metrics directly with maybe user feedback that comes from social media, from other systems that you have to collect feedback, NPS systems, and then you can start gathering more inputs to prioritize better your roadmap. And then when you prioritize the roadmap and you come with a new feature, you need to write the PRD. AI can do like 80-90% of the work. And then before even you validate and you prioritize the feature, that's where we can get into more details, but you can even prototype it, and then work with a select of users to get some feedback. So that's, I think, where we are going with product management completely.
And I think the final step too, right? Today's episode is brought to you by Vanta. As a founder, you're moving fast toward product market fit, your next round, or your first big enterprise deal. But with AI accelerating how quickly startups build and ship, security expectations are higher earlier than ever. Getting security and compliance right can unlock growth, or stall it if you wait too long. With deep integrations and automated workflows built for fast-moving teams, Vanta gets you audit-ready fast and keeps you secure with continuous monitoring as your models, infra, and customers evolve. Fast-growing startups like LangChain, Writer, and Cursor trusted Vanta to build a scalable foundation from the start. So go to vanta.com/Aakash, that's VANTA.com/AAKASH to save $1,000 and join over 10,000 ambitious companies already scaling with Vanta. Today's episode is brought to you by Amplitude. Replays of mobile user engagement are critical to building better products and experiences, but many session replay tools don't capture the full picture. Some tools take screenshots every second, leading to choppy replays and high storage costs from enormous capture sizes. Others use wireframes, but key moments go missing, creating gaps in your understanding. Neither approach gives you a truly mobile experience. Amplitude does things differently. Their mobile replays capture the full experience. Every tap, every scroll, and every gesture, with no lag and no performance hit. It's the most accurate way to understand mobile behavior. See the full story with Amplitude. Today's episode is brought to you by the AI PM certification on Maven. Run by Mikdad Jaffer, who is a product leader at OpenAI, this is not your typical course. It's 8 weeks of live, cohort-based learning with a leader at one of the top companies in tech. OpenAI just doesn't stop shipping, and this is your chance to learn how. Run along with product faculty and Mo Ali, the course has a 4.9 rating with 133 reviews. Former students come from companies like OpenAI, Shopify, Stripe, Google, and Meta. The best part? Your company can probably cover the cost. So if you want to get $500 off, use my code AAKASH25 and head to maven.com/product-faculty. That's maven.com/product-faculty. Once you release it into production, it can monitor if all of a sudden users are getting some corner case you didn't realize. And then 2 or 3 weeks later, it can tell you, hey, here's what the statistically significant results were. So it's like across every step of the PM lifecycle.
Absolutely. It's one of the most exciting functions, because as I mentioned before, we are in this wall of ideas. And I think PMs have as part of the job description is to bring some of these ideas to life.
Yeah.
And if you work in product management, like it's been always kind of like a frustration to turn ideas into not features, but sometimes even validating the idea, right? You need to work with design, maybe get the mock-up, have user feedback, and then work with engineering. And engineering is overwhelmed with production tickets on support and things that need to be fixed and new feature development. So it's that's why I think also PMs, all the PMs that I usually hire are really good technically, and now with AI they will be able to take it to like 3-4 steps further by themselves.
So you recently commented on this idea of writing first versus prototype first cultures. Talk to me a little bit more about what the future of the role looks like, the future of the PRD in this world.
I'll tell you a personal story about that. And I think that built a lot of success in my career. That's more than 10 years ago. But I'm from Spain. I moved to the US. My English was very, very rough. And we had this kind of like big meeting with a lot of big executives, how to reimagine how the next machine learning platform is going to be. And at that time, I still remember I had the meeting in 2 days. And I was really struggling to articulate all the ideas that I have. So I said to myself, I'm going to build a prototype. And to my surprise, in that meeting, everyone was just talking and showing slides. And I was the only one that was showing. I was showing the product. You can touch it. You could see it. It was nothing close to production. It was all kind of like fake, but giving the ideas and the art of the possible. And guess what? I got to lead the project. That became the kind of like the default and the path forward. So I think that's what is happening right now. Before I had to just get hands-on, start coding, and do a lot of the work. I could have done that now in maybe like 3 or 4 hours.
Yeah.
So now with all the tools, I think every single PM should have access to vibe coding tools, different options out there in the market, to just kind of like skip ahead and show some of those ideas directly into working prototypes. And that also helps a lot with communication. The teams I work as well, they are worldwide. So there's also language barriers. A lot of the work in big corporations is all about communication, and that communication is either in meetings or written or in GitHub repos, So a lot of things are missed in translation. So I'm a big fan of showing and skipping a lot. And even if you write the most beautiful, detailed PRD, still a lot of information is lost in translation, and just there is nothing that speaks better than just a working prototype.
There is some worry out there that we're going to start to get into a more feature factory, solutions focused world. We're not going to heavily investigate the problem space if we just jump into AI prototypes. What's the right step, the right life cycles to make sure that you are investigating the problem space, but you're also taking advantage of this new prototyping technology?
Yeah, that's a very valid concern. I spend a lot of time with customers. I think and again, that's also part of how I built my career. Like my first 2 years, I was traveling every single week to visit customers. I spent 2 years traveling. I had no wife, no kids, so I was free to meet a lot of customers all over the world, and it was unbelievable. Like not only network, but just going deep into what they were doing, trying to figure out the problems. And I didn't have LLMs, but I kind of like started framing my own ideas, hypotheses, and checking what was going on in the market to build solutions. So I think you always need to start customer first. And PMs, in my opinion, they need to spend a lot of time talking to customers and going deep, not at a high level, but just really trying to understand what are their challenges, and then figure out how your product can solve.
All right. So let's zoom back out of product management for a second and just talk about general tech workers. You've encouraged people to learn Python, get technical, even you've asked leadership to get more technical in the AI era. Why is that so important?
Yeah, and I think everyone should have technical literacy in this day and age. Otherwise, I think you are completely going to miss out on the opportunities of AI. One that articulates this very well is Aaron Levy, the Box founder and CEO. He says you have two ways to approach AI, either as a cost savings tool, that's completely fine, or you can just go do way more with AI, So in order to do way more, and I think that's the right approach. I think that's how companies will grow, will expand. Work is going to be more fun because we're going to be able to accomplish new use cases and new work. In order to do that, you need to understand the art of the possible of AI. And there is no document, white paper, LinkedIn post, video that is going to teach you the art of the possible unless you actually try the technology. So luckily, if you learn how to code in Python or do the basics in Python, that's completely cool. Luckily, the technology is getting democratized, so you can still touch the technology and not code at all. But you need to understand the concepts, and a lot of the leaders in the space, they have a lot of ideas on things that they should be doing and they can do. And they need to understand how the technology bridges that gap. So yeah, I'm spending a lot of time learning myself. Many people ask me how I'm so up to date, or I write about this content so often. It's just, number one is I'm obsessed with it, so it comes to me naturally. So every time there is something new, I just jump and I try it out in the evenings usually. But then and then I start to form my own opinions based on my professional experience.
Mm-hmm. So it's about jumping in, using the tools. What's like a good roadmap if you had to give somebody, if they're going from 0 to 1 to ramp up on all these tools, like which tools should they try first, in what order?
Yeah, I think first just understanding the concepts, and then tools. I think everyone should just develop one AI agent, and there are a lot of different tools. You can do that with no-code flow builder. There are many out there. I was actually trying yesterday the new Lindy AI. Very, very, very impressive. At IBM, we have a tool called Langflow as well, which is a low-code flow builder experience as well. At the end of the day, if you see each of those tools, they still require you to understand the concept of AI. So I always recommend start with the concepts and understand what is an LLM, understand what is reasoning, understand what is RAG, and some of those things. And then use any of those tools that give you like the building blocks, and just think about one use case that you have in your own personal job or life, and then try to solve it, mm-hmm. and try any of those tools. And then if you want to go deeper and deeper, I think it depends on the role. If you are into leadership, I think there is a lot of education about how you inject AI into an organization and change management and so on. If you are more on a practitioner practice in different domains, I think you will have a lot of agentic solutions that can help you speed up your work. So there are a lot of different options.
Okay, so build with a no-code tool. Then what's the next step? Do you go into like a cursor or something like that? Do you learn to program? Where should people go after?
Yeah, like programming. I think also vibe coding is a big one, because I think you need to understand the different levels. I don't expect everyone right now to just create something and put it into production in an enterprise setup. I think that's that needs to be a little bit somehow controlled, depending on data access and tool access. But yeah, start with developing some agents. Try vibe coding. If you are curious, try different things that are more advanced using Python, depending on your level of expertise there. I mentioned earlier, deep learning AI, amazing short courses. And it's interesting because you can, if you want to, for example, hey, I heard about RAG every day, I see it on my timeline every single time I log into LinkedIn or X. just do a quick course on RAG. You will really understand that it takes like 3-4 hours. And then you can understand, hey, basically my entire organization can access all the information if we build these RAG pipelines really good. So maybe something we should invest. And you can do it in-house. You can do it through a vendor. You can have like a third party help you build those. But you need to understand those concepts because, again, people in the business they have the ideas and the use cases in their heads,
Let's shift focus to open source AI. IBM, and you in particular, have had a lot of focus on open source AI. Can open source really win? It feels like it's always a cycle behind closed source.
Yeah, I think we need to understand it in the enterprise context that I'm coming from. And I think in that enterprise context, open source, I would say, always wins.
Oh.
Yeah, I think it's if we are like, let's take the latest OpenAI model, right? Why everyone is so excited, especially in the enterprise. First, the license, it's unbelievable. It's an Apache 2 license, which is really good. Then it's a very good reasoning model. Like I think we've been lacking some very good reasoning models in the open source space. And then you can just take them and deploy them anywhere. So you don't have to rely on a third-party API call where you most likely, for most of my customers, they cannot just send a lot of confidential information there, or they cannot connect it with their own tools. So right now you can take that model, make your own, deploy it anywhere in your own infrastructure. A lot of customers are still running on their own infrastructure. They are they're creating their own AI factories with different AI accelerator providers like NVIDIA, AMD. So that you can deploy it on your own machine. So open source provides a lot of control for enterprises, which is a great thing. Then I think the pace of innovation of the community, even though sometimes it's a little bit slow at the beginning, at the end of the day, in the long term, it shows up. And I think we've been a little bit through a cycle. I think last year we could see open source models getting closer and closer to closed source. And then I think this year it's been a little bit different. Anthropic, Google with Gemini, and OpenAI with GPT-5, they show that they are still ahead.
Yeah.
But you will see again the open source community rallying behind and pushing that forward. And lastly is developer ecosystems. What we were talking at the beginning on all these different frameworks that actually enable companies to develop applications. They are built on open source as well, and they are deployed on open source systems like Kubernetes and VLLM. VLLM is basically the engine to run models, So yeah, I think it's not just the LLMs itself; it's the entire AI ecosystem. PyTorch is another great example. Like everyone is building on PyTorch, which is also open source. So I'm very passionate about open source, and I think in the long term it always wins.
What's PyTorch for people who don't know?
PyTorch is basically the framework that allows you to create very complex deep learning algorithms and run them. Yeah.
And just about all of the closed and open source foundation companies are building with PyTorch, right?
Pretty much all of them, and that's a project that came out of Meta. It's open governance, and everyone is contributing to it, and it's been used by every single major AI lab in the market.
So you've been in AI for 16 years. What have been the biggest open source releases over time?
It's been a wild journey. Because when we talk about open source, a lot of the conversation right now is with LLMs. So I think if we just focus on open source LLMs for a moment, I think Mistral did massive things when they came into the market. They were also, I think, the first to provide a mixture of experts, open source model. Also, they did it in a very funny way with a torrent link. You have to get a little bit your way to go download. And then we had Llama building a fantastic ecosystem around open source models. IBM, we open source our models. I can speak to that. And then now OpenAI and others. So there is innovation in the model space. If you go check Hugging Face, which is kind of like the repository of all these open source models that Clem and the team is building, like there are hundreds of thousands of open source models. Then there is data as well. also available on Hugging Face. There are a lot of datasets for many different things, for pre-training, for post-training, for alignment. So these are also components. Major PyTorch, massive. TensorFlow look promising. Finally, PyTorch kind of took over. There is always kind of like, at the beginning, you don't know which one is going to win, and then you let the community and the ecosystem move that forward. And in most of the cases, there are very technical decisions that are very critical, or user simplicity. And then a lot of the conversation as well is happening on potential alternatives to CUDA that provides a lot of control for NVIDIA. So it's a very exciting ecosystem, and it is not stopping.
And it's operating at every layer, really.
Every layer. In every layer of the AI stack, you have like 3 or 4 projects and new incumbents coming with new alternatives. And I think the beautiful thing about open source is let the best one win, you know?
Yep. You briefly mentioned pre-training, post-training, and alignment. For people who don't understand that, those are the steps in model building. What's one layer deeper? What's happening in each of those?
Yeah, and for 99.999% of the people, they don't really have to touch that. This is really done by the frontier AI labs that they train the models. And basically in pre-training is when you basically gather all that clean data set and you train. This is what you use to train your model. And then you have the post-training phase and the alignment to make sure it performs properly. So these are different data sets that you use for that. Obviously, we're running out of data. So then you have new methods to create synthetic data, high-quality synthetic data, which is synthetic data is data generated by AI algorithms, and then supervised by humans to make sure there is high quality. And like all that process is what is used by all these frontier labs to train all these magic LLMs that we're using.
So let's get to IBM. How is IBM going to make big waves in the AI space?
Yeah, so I joined IBM when we announced IBM Watson, and it's been a wild decade with a lot of lessons learned and also things that we got right and things that we got wrong. Right now, one of the things I'm very bullish is about providing customers flexibility to deploy AI anywhere and to tap into any AI engine they want. So what does that mean? That means our customers, they sit on a lot of data, as I mentioned before. It's a gold mine of data. They need to execute that AI close to that data. Cost per token is extremely important. So I think we are one of the only providers that provide all this flexibility to deploy the AI very close to in the infrastructure they want, whether it's a hyperscaler, whether it's on-prem, on a private cloud setup, or a combination of all of those. So that's number one. Then we've been developing also our own AI models. It's a family of models called Granite. And then but our customers, they want everything. The customer I was yesterday, and it's a trend I see with every single customer. They have all the options, So how you provide governed access to all these AI engines, no matter where they run. So you make sure you have some way to understand the overall cost, the access control, and things like that. And then we provide a lot of tooling on top to make sure we give productivity to developers. And at the end of the day, these systems are built for scale, massive scale. So we are working on different projects to help scale inference throughout multiple clusters in different environments. And then an area that I've been responsible as well is the governance piece. And the governance piece is a one that many people are thinking after the fact, and it should be thought before, especially in an enterprise setup. So I'm sure you heard about a lot of the AI regulation that is coming to the market, and that regulation is being updated and is different sometimes by industry, by state, by country. Mm-hmm. And so you need to have like an inventory of use cases different stages, and for those that are in production, they need to be compliant to a certain regulation. So we have very good tools in order to do that at scale.
Why is the Granite model important?
I think the Granite model has two, I would say, maybe the research team will disagree with me. There are more, but I think we have two major components. One is cost per token. So these are very small models. One of the most popular ones is a 2 billion model that performs really, really well. Mm-hmm. So if you see what OpenAI released last week, the smallest one is 20 billion.
Okay.
These are different kinds of models. Like that model OpenAI model is very good at reasoning. But like for certain use cases, what we see is cost per token is extremely critical. And for some use cases, you don't need generic models that know how to do everything. In enterprise setups, you need models that do one thing and do it really, really well. So these very small models are extremely good. They are very cheap, and they run in hardware that in some cases is even commodity hardware. And then the second thing, I will add two more. The second thing is easy to customize. So we're talking about tuning or drag or things like that. The larger the model, the more complex every single thing you're trying to do is. So if it's a very small model, it's easier to tweak it, to tune it, to change the weights, and to embed it into different customization setups. And then the last one is, it was talked a lot at the beginning of this AI craziness that we have going on. It was about the copyright of the data. For most of the models that we use today, we have no idea which data was used to train. All our data is even disclosed on the white paper. Our legal teams, they went through it, has the proper copyrights and so on. So and we provide that information very transparently to our customers. So that built a level of comfort for some specific use cases in certain industries that's been really good.
Mm-hmm. So the AI talent wars have gotten insane. People have heard about $1 billion for 4 years at Meta for some of the highest paid AI researchers. Yet you're still saying that AI talent may still be underpaid. What's your take on this? Like, what's going on with these AI talent wars? Why is AI talent underpaid?
I got in trouble for that post, but I think there are two things here. One is like kind of like the ethical piece. It seems completely unethical that someone is making that absurd amount of money. But then you need to put things also into context, right? We're in a capital allocation market, and we're talking about talent that is very unique. I would say maybe there are like 200 of those folks worldwide.
Yeah.
And those folks are the ones that they are actually using all these CapEx being spent by the biggest and strongest companies in the world. So when you have one of those companies spending billions on AI clusters, and they are even talking about building nuclear plants to power those AI clusters, and those clusters are they are for training new models, tuning new models, serving new models. So you need the right talent to leverage that. And literally, like one architecture decision can use capacity on those clusters for weeks and months. Mm-hmm. So if you put the numbers into context, that's massive. So that's number one. Like those folks are really capital allocators right now. Not only just employees.
Yeah.
And second one is, I mean, you need to see the state of the market. Like a lot of these people, they are either they are founders or first employees of very well-funded companies. So they have like very sweet equities at extremely high valuations, right? So if you see what they are, what is their opportunity, maybe they have 200 or 300 million on equity in some company.
Yeah.
You know? So if you want to hire them, you need to put a very sweet package. So I think that those are the two motions, like the capital allocation motion and like the state of the market, and where these technical folks that they are like founders of some of the most promising companies in the world. Well,
I just love to see the nerds get paid like athletes.
I mean, I heard there are AI agents, but not agents in the like NBA agents for players that are helping you negotiate those contracts and things like. It's just it's wild. It's the nerds are taking over.
Revenge of the nerds, amazing. So you have an amazing career story. You rose from intern to VP of AI. A lot of people would want to follow your trajectory. Of course, you know, you did good work, you made good connections, but are there things about the way you work or the way you manage your career that really helped you propel so quickly?
Yeah, I think this is one of those that you be careful what you dream because it might become true. I was a kid and I was just obsessed with being here in Silicon Valley, watching all the keynotes, the action happening with Apple and Oracle and all these companies. And I really, really, really wanted to be here. So every single thing I did, either very intentionally or unintentionally, took me here. And for some things I was like very, very aggressive trying to get there. When I was in Europe, I wanted to be in a US company to get the visas to get here and get sponsored and so on. So that was one factor. I think the other factor is there is a component of luck, you know. I joined IBM when IBM Watson was announced. And then I've been very consistent on that AI path. Even on these AI winters that we had in between, I've been always working in AI and machine learning. And yeah, like we're now in this stage where AI is the biggest thing in the world. So there is that luck factor, but I had a good intuition, right? I saw the promise of the technology, and I was very connected with all the developments that were happening with, for example, with NVIDIA and AlexNet and the promise of all this technology. But we didn't expect this to happen so quick. And then it's also more about managing kind of like the corporate ladder. Something I always recommend is network is very important. And network and add value and just be humble and problem solving. So yeah, I've been always kind of lucky to be in these very hot projects. And then part of my nature, I'm very impatient. I want to build things very quick. And that fits the narrative in corporate America that people want to see results quickly and they want to see innovation. So I was always with this mindset of building and showing, not telling, and then I've been lucky to surround myself with unbelievable colleagues that made things happen very fast. So that's been kind of like my story. I'm from Spain. I started working at IBM in Belgium, in France. I moved to Chicago, and then I've been here in the Bay Area for 10 years.
Wow. Very intentional journey to get to Silicon Valley and then seize the opportunity, stay grinding. A lot of people, they come to Valley, they see the gray weather, they leave after 3 years. You stuck it out.
Yeah.
And that's really an incredible story. Another incredible story that you have is I believe June 2023 you shared was when you started your content posting journey. We're talking in August 2025. You have nearly 200,000 followers. I think it's at like 194,000 today, right? By the time this episode published, it'll be 200,000. How, and you've written about this a little bit, you use AI in your content creation process. How can other people use AI in their content creation process to grow like you did?
Yeah. First, why I started doing it, I think I always wanted to be a better communicator, and I think if you want to get good at something, you just need to flex that muscle.
Yeah.
So, and because of the work I was doing, every time I was posting something, either at the time on blogs on Medium or sometimes on LinkedIn, I have posts from like 5 years ago that were getting like thousands of views, which is rare. They were resonating. So then I was like, okay, I'm going to try to put consistency and a framework, and it's something I should have been doing before. And then I put a system just to collect ideas and just write every single day. Like I have a post every day on LinkedIn at 7 a.m. Pacific. No, 4 a.m. Pacific, 7 a.m. Eastern.
Oh.
So kind of like when the US is waking up and it's still working day in Europe, you get an update from me. I will say so though that I was using AI a lot more before I barely use it these days.
Oh.
And I think that's also part of the differentiation on good content. So, I have posts where I had like 2 years ago, I had agents built with baby AGI and things like that. And I think at that time I was always kind of like concerned that I didn't have enough ideas. So I had agents to do like research, and they will just scroll YouTube, X, or different sources and give me like what is the content that is getting more engagement. And then my content was really optimized to go viral, which was good. That helped grow a lot. Right now, my content is more targeted to the people I want to talk to and the audience I'm going after. And that's helping as well with my connections and professional experience. So when I sit in front of a customer, most of like 90% of the time they already follow me, they know my content, they have questions about it. So and that helped also inspire other people at IBM to help promote IBM technology. So I was very heavy on AI. I use it a little bit less these days, just because I think just trying to spend more time thinking, and that's a way to differentiate. Otherwise, the content is also getting democratized these days.
Yeah, it is, right? I also had a phase like 2 years ago when I was using AI and I felt like it was giving me an edge.
Yeah.
Now I don't use it at all because it ends up leading you down the path of creating content like everybody else. And that's the content that doesn't work.
Yeah. And I think maybe where I use it is more on the ideation.
Okay.
So like many people ask me, how do you have time to write so much? And I think if I didn't write, my thoughts wouldn't be structured and in order, and I need that for my job. So I was flying yesterday back from a customer visit. It was like a 24-hour visit to a customer. In the flight back, I just had so much information that I was kind of like structuring it and writing my thoughts, kind of like old school on pen and paper on a notebook. And I will use AI to kind of expand on those ideas, help me structure them, but then write something. And I usually have my own routine every day after kids go to sleep, just spend some time like writing. And then the more you do it, the faster you do it as well.
Yeah.
At first, maybe it will take you like 45 minutes to write something. Now it takes me maybe like 5-7 minutes, you know?
Oh, wow.
Because I don't have like this paralysis when I have to write. I already know what I'm going to be talking about, and more or less I learn about formatting content and so on. So yeah, it's one of those things that you just need to do it and regularly, and then also track metrics as well if you really care about growth.
Yeah.
What works and what doesn't.
Oh yeah, actually look back at what the days you got more followers, the posts that got more likes.
Yeah, but I'm also not super obsessed with that, because a lot of the content that gets a lot of likes and stuff is just reporting the news.
Yeah.
And I think I can bring additional value on top of just reporting what's happening in the market. There are many people that are doing that very well. So it's more about, okay, I'm in this spot where I'm developing enterprise AI software, and I talk to AI implementation in enterprises. So that's where I'm trying to spend more time. So I rather get maybe like 200 or 300 likes, but the people that are engaging are like executives in some of the most important companies in the world, or aspiring executives. Than just reporting about the latest model in the market and getting like 3,000 likes.
Yeah.
That's more valuable.
What an ending to the podcast. Armand, thank you. This was, I think, your first deep, long-form podcast. Cannot wait to share this with the world. Really enjoyed it.
Thank you for inviting me, and looking forward for more. Thank you.
All right. So if you want to learn more about how to shift to this way of working, check out our full conversation on Apple or Spotify podcasts. And if you want the actual documents that we showed, the tools and frameworks and public links, be sure to check out my newsletter post with all of the details. Finally, thank you so much for watching. It would really mean a lot if you could make sure you are subscribed on YouTube, following on Apple or Spotify podcasts, and leave us a review on those platforms. That really helps grow the podcast and support our work so that we can do bigger and better productions.
I'll see you in the next one.